Usually when we talk about a great work of philosophy, there is this fundamental expectation of solid ground.
Right, yeah.
Like, you assume that underneath the beautiful poetic language, there is a foundation of rigorous logic.
A steel frame, basically.
Exactly, a steel frame holding the whole conceptual building up.
That is sort of the unspoken contract, of reading philosophy.
Right.
You expect that if you chip away the aesthetic paint, you are going to find load-bearing beams, concepts that actually hold up under pressure.
But what if one of the 20th century's most revered, universally quoted philosophical masterpieces is actually an optical illusion?
Oh, man.
What if it is just this mesmerizing, beautiful fog that completely hides the fact that there is no actual steel frame inside? Welcome to today's deep dive.
I am so excited for this one.
Yeah, we are taking you into the heart of a brand new 2026 book by Boris Kriger. It's called I and Thou and Nothing Else, A Critical Life of Martin Buber.
And this is such a fascinating subject for a deep dive because for 100 years, Martin Buber's famous book, I and Thou, has been read with almost universally bowed heads.
Right, like total reverence.
Exactly. I mean, it is quoted at weddings, it is printed on inspirational posters, it is assigned in serious theology classes.
He kind of became the undisputed prophet of human dialogue.
He really did. But Boris Kriger is taking a totally different approach here.
So, can you walk us through what makes Kriger's perspective so genuinely new and original? Like, what is he doing differently?
Well, the defining originality of Kriger's book is that he does the one thing reverence always forbade.
Which is?
He audits it.
Yeah.
Kriger's a philosopher of interdisciplinarity. So he blends cognitive science, systems theory, social criticism, and he treats this sacred icon as a text to be scrutinized.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, instead of just bowing his head to the beautiful prose and, letting the rhythm wash over him, he reads Buber closely, line by line.
Wow.
And his groundbreaking argument is that Buber's work didn't actually present a philosophical argument at all.
Wait, really? No argument?
None. He says it dissolved argument into incantation. Kriger claims the book reduced the concept of connection into a beautiful but ultimately empty gesture.
Okay, let's unpack this. Because our mission today is to deconstruct the myth of Martin Buber alongside Kriger.
Yes.
We are going to figure out how this machine of illusions actually functioned. We want to rescue Buber's actual genius from his false reputation and ultimately learn how you can defend yourself against modern pseudo-philosophy.
It's a big mission.
It is. But to do that, we have to travel back to the world that made Buber famous in the first place, right?
Right. We have to understand the profound hunger of the continent that received his work.
Setting the stage.
Yeah. To really grasp the impact of I and Thou, you have to imagine the collective psyche of Europe in 1919.
Just after the First World War.
Exactly. A whole generation of young men had just returned from the trenches. They had grown up in a 19th century world that believed fervently in reason, science, and steady rational progress.
And they came back to find that world in absolute ruins.
Total ruins. The cold logic, the scientific breakthroughs, the mechanization that was supposed to save them, it had just been used to organize slaughter on an industrial scale.
Wow. Yeah. Mustard gas, machine guns.
Artillery timetables. I mean, that was the ultimate result of cold, rational calculation for them.
So they were starving for meaning, they needed spiritual depth, but they specifically distrusted the intellectual tools that had just betrayed them so violently, the logic and the science.
Precisely. And into this massive cultural vacuum steps Martin Buber.
Impeccable timing.
Unbelievable timing. But it wasn't just what he wrote, right? It was how he arrived. He cultivated this extraordinary image.
Okay, paint the picture.
Well, he had this magnificent patriarchal white beard. He had a deep, sorrowful, penetrating gaze.
Like a sage.
Very much so. And when he spoke publicly, his voice was full of these deliberate, incredibly weighty pauses.
Oh, I can just picture it.
Yeah, he looked and sounded exactly like a prophet who had just come down from the mountain with tragic, vital news.
Okay, but I have to push back a little here, though. In psychology, we call that the halo effect, right?
Right.
Where one positive trait influences how we perceive everything else about a person. It's like how we instantly trust a modern tech CEO just because they wear a minimalist black turtleneck.
And speak in hushed, visionary tones.
Yes, exactly. But isn't it entirely possible that Buber looked the part and actually had the philosophical goods to back it up? I mean, why does Kriger say the image overshadowed the text?
That is the crucial question Kriger investigates. And what he finds is that Buber's charisma created a literal force field of reverence around his work.
A force field.
Yeah. Kriger argues that people didn't read Buber to test his claims the way you would test, Kant or Descartes. They revered him.
Ah, they gave him a pass.
They approached the text assuming it was already a work of towering genius. Because of that, they assumed that any obscurity, any contradiction, was simply their own failure to understand his brilliance.
Oh, that is wild. So when a man with that beard, speaking in those hypnotic cadences, says something you don't quite grasp, your first thought isn't, this makes no sense.
Right. Your first thought is, I am not yet spiritually deep enough to get this.
You give the author the benefit of the doubt, and you basically blame yourself for the confusion.
Exactly.
So if the book wasn't doing actual rigorous philosophy, what was it doing? Let's get into Kriger's line-by-line autopsy of I and thou. What is the core mechanism of the book?
Well, what's fascinating here is that Buber's central premise is beautifully simple, which is actually part of its appeal.
Okay.
He divides all of human existence into two fundamental attitudes, which he calls primary words.
Right, the I, thou, and the I, it.
Yes. On one side, you have the I-thou relationship. It's a genuine meeting. It is encountering another being or nature or God with your whole soul.
In a pure, living, uncalculated moment.
Exactly. And on the other side, you have the I-it relationship. This is cold, dead, instrumental logic.
Like treating things and people merely as objects.
Right. Objects to be categorized, analyzed, used, or manipulated.
Okay, I'm going to play devil's advocate again here. Because on the surface, that sounds like a really great ethical point.
It does.
Treating people as means to an end is bad. Treating them as fully human and sacred is good. I mean, it sounds a lot like Kant's categorical imperative, actually. What is wrong with that dichotomy?
Well, that initial agreement is exactly the trap Buber sets.
Oh!
Yeah. Kriger points out that Buber smuggles a massive slander against knowledge itself into a basic truism about human kindness.
Wait, against knowledge itself.
Yes. Well, of course, everyone agrees that using a person as a disposable tool is wrong. But Buber goes much further. He throws all science, all structural analysis, all careful observation into the dead bucket of the I-it.
Oh, wow. So if I try to understand how a system works or how a person's psychology functions, I'm somehow degrading the purity of our interaction.
According to I and thou, yes.
That's crazy.
It is. And Kriger completely dismantles this using Buber's own famous example of a tree.
Oh, let's hear the tree example.
In the book, Buber claims that if you study a tree scientifically, like if you analyze its cellular structure or classify its species, you are preventing yourself from truly meeting the tree as a thou.
So you've turned a living mystery into a dead it.
Exactly.
But I mean, that doesn't track with reality at all.
It doesn't. Kriger says go ask any botanist. Ask a scientist who has spent 3 decades studying a forest's root systems, its seasonal chemistry, its symbiotic fungal networks.
Right.
Their deep analytical knowledge doesn't kill their wonder. It deepens their love for the tree.
By trying to protect the so-called magic of the encounter from the coldness of science, Buber gets the phenomenology of nature exactly backward.
Completely backwards.
Wait, let's pause on the word phenomenology real quick, just so we are on the same page. That's the philosophical study of how we actually experience things from a first-person perspective.
Yes, exactly. The lived experience.
It's how the world actually presents itself to our consciousness.
Right. And the lived experience of a scientist is that deep understanding breeds deeper awe, not apathy. Buber's model completely fails to capture that.
Okay, here's where it gets really interesting. Because Kriger doesn't just point out these logical flaws.
Oh, no. He goes much further.
To definitively prove that Buber's method is just a machine for manufacturing the feeling of depth, Kriger does something both hilarious and lethal right in the middle of his book.
The pronoun farce.
Yes, the pronoun farce. Explain this because it's brilliant.
This might be the most brilliant critical tool in the entire biography. Kriger decides to build entirely fake philosophies using the pronouns that Buber discarded.
I love this.
So Buber took I, thou, and it to build his empire. Kriger takes others to show how easily the trick can be replicated. For example, he invents the you-she philosophy.
I loved this part. Kriger writes this sweeping paragraph claiming that the ultimate tragic fall of humanity is talking about someone, the she, instead of talking to them, the you.
Yes, and he writes it in that exact same majestic, rhythmic, prophetic tone that Buber used.
It sounds so legit.
It really does. And then he pivots and creates another one, the thou-it philosophy.
Oh, right.
In this one, he claims that the highest possible spiritual state is erasing the ego, the I, entirely. So the world, the glorious thou, directly meets the object, the it, without any selfish ego polluting the connection.
It's literally Mad Libs for intellectuals.
That is exactly what it is.
So you just take a pronoun pair, you plug it into a solemn cadence, you add a tiny grain of real human observation, and boom, you have a profound-sounding philosophy.
Yep.
Wait, let me try one right now. Let's do the we, they.
Oh, okay. Let's hear it.
Okay. To truly embrace the sacred wholeness of the we, one must first abandon the fragmented illusions of the they.
Wow.
For in the they, the spirit scatters, but in the we, the soul gathers.
I mean, I would buy a ticket to that seminar.
Right. I feel like I should be charging $200 for a weekend retreat now.
But you see how incredibly convincing it is when you hear it spoken aloud?
It really is.
And that is where Kriger applies his background in cognitive science to explain how this works on our brains. This isn't just a neat parlor trick.
Oh, it's neuroscience.
Yeah, it leverages something called cognitive ease. When a sentence has poetic symmetry, when it relies on simple binary oppositions, and when it has a rhythmic cadence, our brains process it very easily.
Okay.
And our cognitive architecture is weirdly wired to interpret the ease of processing as a signal of truthfulness.
So the poetic rhythm actually bypasses our critical thinking centers. We feel the rhythm and we just assume we are feeling the truth.
Exactly. Which leads to Kriger's devastating conclusion. If you can generate profundity from any random pair of pronouns, then the profundity was never in the concepts themselves.
The grandeur was purely formal.
Yes, it was an aesthetic costume masquerading as a structural steel frame.
That is a total dismantling of the idol. He strips away the false title of philosopher.
He really does.
But this brings us to a really important pivot. If we take away the philosophy, are we left with nothing? Like, does Kriger just leave Martin Buber in the ashes as a total fraud?
He doesn't, and this is where Kriger's biography shows its genuine nuance. Because once we drop the false idol of the original philosopher, the actual historical man who emerges is incredibly gifted.
Okay, so what was his real gift?
Kriger argues that Buber's true genius was not as an architect of new philosophy, but as an elite transmitter and a curator of existing spiritual wealth.
So rather than being the architect who designs the building from scratch, his true genius was being an elite interior designer for existing structures. He knew how to make things resonate.
That is a perfect analogy. You see this most clearly in his work with the Hasidic tales.
Right, the folklore.
Yeah, Buber took the folklore of Eastern European wonder-working rabbis, these incredibly rich stories of ecstatic, joyous piety, and he translated them into beautiful, accessible German.
Wow.
He saved the warmth and the breath of a vanishing world for modern readers.
And he applied that same curatorial gift to the Hebrew scriptures too, working with Franz Rosenzweig to translate them.
Exactly. In those translation projects, Buber was serving a profound existing text rather than trying to invent a metaphysical system from scratch.
It fit his skill set perfectly.
It did. His undeniable gifts for cadence, for rhythm, for evoking the feeling of the sacred toker, those were perfectly suited to storytelling and cultural transmission.
Kriger also points out that Buber had a genuine prophetic intuition about the 20th century. He saw the danger of what he called the mass man coming from a mile away.
He did. Buber sensed early on that modern citizens were going to be increasingly processed as mere numbers by massive state bureaucracies and totalitarian machinery.
The loss of the individual face in the crowd.
Right. His intuition about the deep need to protect human encounters from state mechanization was absolutely correct.
But it's fascinating to see where that powerful intuition succeeded as a critique and where it completely broke down when he tried to use it as a practical tool.
Yeah.
Because he famously tried to apply this I-thou philosophy to geopolitics, right?
This is a crucial section of Kriger's analysis. Looking impartially at Buber's political activism, he was a major advocate for binationalism in the Middle East.
Which is the idea of a shared, cooperative Arab-Jewish state.
Exactly. And Kriger makes it very clear that Buber's moral sincerity was unquestionable. He truly, deeply wanted two peoples to encounter each other purely as a thou.
Which is a beautiful sentiment.
It is.
But Kriger argues it failed as a political reality. Why?
Because Buber tried to take the logic of intimate interpersonal dialogue, like two friends talking across a table, and paste it directly onto a complex geopolitical map.
Oh, I see.
He completely ignored the cold, hard structures that real nations actually require to survive and coexist. Things like treaties, borders, security mechanisms, legal frameworks, checks and balances.
Because all of those things, laws, borders, institutions, are an it.
Exactly.
And his entire philosophical system trained him to despise the it as cold and dead.
Yes. He favored emotional trust over institutional structure. But in the realm of geopolitics, trust without structure isn't just naive, it is a recipe for disaster.
Yeah.
The I-thou connection might work for a marriage or a friendship, but you cannot run a state on a feeling. You need the structural steel of the I-it to maintain order and security.
So bringing this all the way to the present day, what does this mean for you and me listening to this right now? Martin Buber has passed on, but Kriger argues that this factory of illusions, this specific method of sounding profound without actually saying anything structurally sound, is running faster than ever in modern society.
If you look around, the descendants of Buber's rhetorical method are everywhere.
Give us an example.
Well, Kriger gives several brilliant modern case studies to illustrate this. One of the most striking is the hospital chaplaincy program he analyzes.
Okay.
This program decided to train its chaplains purely in the concept of presence, the idea of just being an I-thou for dying patients, holding space without any agenda.
Which, again, sounds incredibly compassionate and lovely on paper.
It does. But in clinical practice, it was a disaster.
Really? Why?
These chaplains became entirely useless to dying patients and their overlonged families. They were so focused on cultivating a vague spiritual meaning that they lacked any practical skills to help people navigate the terrifying reality of death.
Oh, wow.
The program only succeeded when it completely reversed course and reintroduced clinical structured medical knowledge. They had to bring back the cold, hard it.
Like teaching chaplains to understand the psychological stages of grief or how medical decline actually works.
Exactly, and how to navigate hospital bureaucracy. The thou meant nothing without the it to support it.
Wow. And this illusion of profundity isn't just human anymore. Kriger points to technology, too, specifically AI language models.
Artificial intelligence today is the ultimate mechanical proof of Kriger's thesis. Think about what a large language model does. It predicts the next word based on vast data sets of human syntax. These models can generate perfectly rhythmic, deeply profound-sounding text about the human condition, all while possessing zero actual understanding or consciousness.
It's just math.
It's just math, mimicking the cadence of wisdom flawlessly.
Yeah.
It proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the form of profundity is entirely detachable from the substance of thought.
It's the pronoun farce automated at scale.
Yes.
And we see the human version of this every day online, the online sage. Every time you open social media, there is a guru posting these grand, vague aphorisms over a moody picture of a misty forest.
Oh, totally.
Like, to find the self, one must lose the self in the quiet meeting of the other. We eat that stuff up. Why?
Kriger explains the core psychological mechanism behind why this works on us. The online guru, or the beautifully written slim book of poetry, provides a resonant, emotionally evocative frame, but the frame is empty because the words are so vague and undefined. You, the reader, subconsciously pour your own meaning, your own longings, your own specific life experiences into that empty space.
Oh, wow.
And this is the genius of the trick. You credit the author for being a profound visionary. You are doing 100% of the intellectual and emotional work, but the guru gets all the praise.
We literally fall in love with our own reflection and their shiny words.
That is exactly what happens.
So what does this all mean? How do we protect ourselves from being fooled by this? How do we navigate a modern world that is completely saturated with this beautiful fog?
Well, Kriger outlines a practice for the reader that he calls critical hygiene.
Critical hygiene, I like that.
The first step is simple but rigorous.
Right.
We must demand that words be clearly defined. If a thought leader talks about presence or alignment or energy, we have to stop and ask, what exact measurable reality do you mean by that?
And the second tool.
The second tool is the paraphrase test.
I love the paraphrase test. The rule is, if you take a profound-sounding poetic quote and you restate it in plain conversational English and it suddenly becomes totally banal or completely meaningless, it's a fake.
Exactly. It was relying on the rhythm, not the idea.
And above all, Kriger says we must learn to use irony to deflate the false sublime.
Yes. Laughter, parody, and satire, like making up your own we-they philosophy on the spot, are the absolute best weapons against self-serious pseudo-philosophy.
Which brings us to Kriger's ultimate philosophical reversal of Buber's entire worldview. Buber spent his whole life fleeing the id. He ran away from resistant, hard, objective facts so he could hide in the warm, yielding, fuzzy feeling of the thou.
But true, rigorous thinking requires the exact opposite impulse. Kriger argues for the I-it of thinking.
Meaning?
Real thought means confronting the stubborn reality of the world, the object that pushes back against our wishes. The truth doesn't care if it makes us feel warm and fuzzy. True thinking is the cold, disciplined engagement with what is actually there, whether we like it or not.
So, As we wrap up this deep dive, let's bring this right to your own doorstep. Next time you scroll past a beautifully formatted, incredibly profound-sounding quote from a thought leader, I want you to pause. Think of that architectural metaphor we talked about at the very beginning. Are you looking at a clear, solid, load-bearing structure? Or are you just staring into a murky, mesmerizing fog?
It's a great question to ask.
But let's take it one step further, beyond just the gurus and the philosophers. Think about the internal monologue in your own head.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah, think about the stories you tell yourself to explain your own life, your past relationships, your career setbacks. Are those internal narratives built on solid, objective, structural truths? Are they a rigorous analysis of your own choices? Or are you using beautiful, vague, emotionally forgiving language to wrap your own flaws in a comfortable fog?
It's easy to do.
It really is. But the highest respect you can pay to your own mind and to your own life isn't bowing your head in reverence to a comforting feeling. It's daring to ask the cold, hard questions.